Texaco Camaro, how to put on an Anvil Auto Wickerbill onto the rear spoiler. The Anvil Auto Wickerbill comes as, you can get a clear, you can get a smoked, you can get some other variations. This is kind of the clear smoked version. So we're gonna be trying to work on putting that on today, but wanted to show some video. Really the starting point for this is you need to find the center line on the spoiler. Everything's gonna be derived from that. And also, we're running in the Optima series, so I need to make sure that the height that I put this at is gonna be legal. And in talking with Matt over at Anvil Auto, it should be legal, but we definitely on the mock-up just wanna make sure that you're within the rules. But center point, mark it off. And we're gonna find the center point on the actual Wickerbill. We'll mark that off. So on this 69 Camaro Anvil Auto Wickerbill, I've taped off in between each hole as kind of a pivot point to hold it on and just kind of mock it up and see where we're gonna be at. I may need to change that strategy. But what I've done is marked off, got my center point on the spoiler. This spoiler measured out to about 60.5. So I got to my center point there. The Wickerbill measured at about 58. But the middle hole on the Wickerbill is the center point from what I've measured. So that's gonna be my point to match up and split on the actual spoiler for the mock-up. The question is, how high do you go up and what line does it match, and is it legal, like I mentioned before with the Optima series? So I gotta get a good picture of mocking it up and seeing where we're at. Got the Wickerbill taped on. I had to modify a couple of the tape areas. Right here, I took the tape that I had here in the middle of these two holes, put it on the edges so that it would attach. Otherwise, just being on the top wasn't giving it enough rigidity to keep it attached to the side. So I've got it pretty well centered up through the center hole. And then I actually went and leveled it off. So I've got a good level going. I need to measure kind of where I'm at here. I may be level, but I just need to get a little bit more measurement on how high am I and if that's the position I need to be in. The actual angle off the spoiler looks pretty good. I'm not sure exactly how it should look, but I think it doesn't look bad that way. So that may be where we keep it. Just gonna take a little bit of messing around with. I mean, if you had two people, I think that would be helpful, but not necessary. I think we're doing just a good enough job here. You just have to work on these kind of tape spots. Give yourself enough tape that you taped on there. And then, like I said, take the tape that we had in one of these areas and put it onto the side. Do it beforehand, it's a little easier. I did it while it was up, so it was a little harder, but moved it around 3 or 4 times just to get it level and all that. But if you just pull really tight and get some good 3M tape, I think you can do it. So I'm gonna go read the rules, make sure I'm within the limits, check some of the heights here just to see if we can, not that all these cars are true to anything. I mean, there could be some spoiler and everything was already off, but as long as it's within millimeters, I don't think anybody's really gonna notice, if they would even notice. So that's where we're at right now. Looks pretty cool right now from the top down. Just make sure we got all of our tolerances right, and make sure that those the lip coming over the top of the current spoiler everything's kind of lined up. You never know how true things are, either on the spoiler. The Wickerbill's very true. Just got to make sure that it looks right once you start drilling holes. There's no turning back. just reading over the rules for the GTV class, which the Texaco Camaro runs in the Optima series, can't be above 8 inches of the highest point of the rear deck lid, or can't be higher than 6 inches from the lower window, is how I read it. Maybe I'm wrong, but either way, at any point, there's no way I'm even close to that, so I can put on 2 Wickerbills probably. So that works for me, because that's maybe 4 inches and 0 inches from the window seal. So I think if that positioning works, that angle works, if everything kind of works back here, that's probably where it's gonna get mounted, and that's what I'm gaining. Maybe 2.5 or so inches. Something like that. That's where we're at. Do some more measurements, and then have to go for the glory. Start punching holes in this thing. So in the last video, I had this a little bit lower. I didn't really know how it's supposed to sit on the spoiler, but because I have so much room with the rules, I mean, I'm well below it. I kept moving it up, and you know, it really flows with the very top part, and these holes are set so low that you can really go higher and really get this spoiler up along this body line on the actual rear spoiler. You can get the Wickerbill up on the body line, and it matches the body line, which, you know, some may say obviously that's what it's supposed to do because that's how it's cut. Sorry about the blurry there, but so basically you raise this thing all the way up to match the body line, then tape it in. I need to get some more tape and just kind of be a little bit stronger, but definitely went up about 1/2 inch, maybe 1/4, maybe not a full 1/2. But might as well go as high as you can go. So basically, the strategy here, and Matt at Anvil suggested, is mark the end holes first, and then do like a 1/4 drill bit pilot hole, and then just keep increasing gradually bigger. And the strategy here is going to be set those 2 in and then come back and have those fully mounted in, and that way the other holes that you make, you're going to be dead on. Because when you have to make these circles here through the Wickerbill, I mean, you've got a decent little curvature and angle here, so you've got to press really hard, and you know, some of the tape's kind of moving around a little bit, and I can see where some things, as you do this one and it loosens up, and then I kind of know eyeball this one's still locked in, but that side may have drooped down a little bit, but I know where it's supposed to be here, so I think I've got the hole correct here. But the application and the tape kind of stayed together. You could have made them all, but you know, once, I think the strategy is that you do a 1/4 drill bit pilot hole, come back through, tape it off, and that way as you go bigger, you may not flake the paint. And then once you can get the Wickerbill on with those 2 pieces and cinch it down a little bit, then you mark your other holes and repeat the process. So I think that's what we're about to do here. No turning back. Whew. Well, just a quick update. I got scared, so I went down to 3/16 versus the 1/4 to start. So because I'm not taping it off and I don't know where the hole is, before I tape it off, I wanted to go a little smaller, and then I'll just keep I'll put the tape over it once the hole is punched, so now I know where my hole is, and I'll just keep making the drill bits bigger to get to the half. But I got scared, went to a smaller 3/16 versus the quarter to start. Not sure that's a pro tip, but if you get scared of messing up your paint, that's the way to go. Made the hole with the 3/16. I put some tape on the bit just to measure my depth, so you obviously don't want to punch all the way through. So just make sure you don't do that. I'm in a thicker part of the spoiler here, so it's not real hollow right there. Maybe I'm a little too high, I don't know, but I think it'll work. So basically I'm going 3/16, quarter, 5/16, 3/8, and half. I skipped the 7/32, but I'm just easing my way to that half. I'm not sure, I think it is a half, but I think at 3/8 I'm gonna check and see if this rubber self-seating, you know, kind of it's not a rivet, it just kind of self taps. It's made out of rubber and has a kind of a brass female input inside of it, and it expands as you tighten it up. So onward. Basically 3 bits in. Got 2 more big boys to go. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing here, or if there's any paint damage or whatever, but you know, it's a Texaco Camaro, so vintage look. There is a little bit of damage, but you know, if you guys are working on a little bit prettier cars, I'll let you see afterwards if I did anything good or not, or maybe there's a different approach. But I'm taking it easy with the bit sizes as I showed. So I'm just gonna do this one and then try to mount it in and then match up that hole over there, because I'm not exactly sure, you know. I think that's just the way I'm gonna do it. Little grommet, self-sealing little insert here. It's definitely gonna take a half. So we've gone pretty big, but we're going bigger. Add a joke in there if you need to. Big holes drilled. I mean, I don't know what I was drilling through a thick part through here, but it's done. It's a done deal. I'm gonna figure out whether this baby's gonna slide in there or not. It looks like it is. Went in pretty easy. Looks like it's gonna go flush. I hope it tightens up. Yikes. So it slipped in there pretty easy. Didn't mess the paint up. Maybe got a little bit of bubbling right there, but I don't think that's big of an issue. I got the titanium hardware. Looks like it takes a T30. So I'm gonna put this thing up here and see if it sticks. If it doesn't, I guess that's a big problem. I'm sure it will. Not sure how tight you're supposed to go, but I usually have a big problem of over tightening stuff, so I'm just kind of putting it on there. Just probably a couple, maybe a half turn from really tight, maybe a full turn, but maybe a half turn from really, really tight. So I got the other end taped. This side's, whoa! Well, there went the tape, but no damage. So that's good, but just make sure your tape's tight. I put the Wickerbill back on. I put the hardware back in here. Tape down where I thought the hole was gonna be. I marked it before, but now I put the tape down and marked it, so even my first pilot hole, I've got a marked area, so that tape will stay on there as I go bigger and bigger and bigger. So slow little process, but just trying to take my time. Making this tape pretty tight. Sorry about the blurry, but I think I'm ready to drill this hole to put the 2 end pieces on, and then the strategy is going to be get the 2 ends on, and then you can match up all the other holes, and then away you go. Just to reiterate, there's all the bits. I marked them all to the depth I want to go. It seemed to have worked out pretty good. I don't see any issues at this point. I think some of these spoilers and other Anvil carbon stuff and all that is hollow once you get through there. I was pretty solid through most of the cut there. It got hollow a little bit on this side and broke out inside, just, you know, an open area, and nothing broke. But so I don't think that these little self-tightening little grommets, it doesn't matter necessarily about there being anything tight. You know, you don't need a rivet tool. It just kind of does it on its own. So I think what we've got going is okay. If there is an issue to where it can't be kind of a cylinder or a chamber, it has to be hollow so it has something to expand and grab onto the back edge or something, then maybe I'll need to figure that out. But I think we got to get further along to address that and see if there's an issue there. But just wanted to show the Optima charger as well, but the drill bits, and that's kind of how I'm staggering up. You could probably take 1 or 2 of those out, but I'm going easy. And I noticed drilling in the holes, you know, I was starting out slow just as a guide, but you know, once you kind of get it straight and it's starting to cut, don't go slow, just give it a little bit more speed. Maybe not full speed because you don't want to punch through the other side, but you don't need, it seemed to cut better obviously whenever it was going faster. So I was kind of being a Nancy a little bit, so just you know, get it started and give it a little speed and don't go too crazy. Wickerbill's on. You know, it's cinched down pretty good. It's moving to the curve of the spoiler pretty good here. Pretty happy with the way it's going on. I think we can do a little better on getting the grommets seated on this one. But the grommets just come in and out. So I think it's kind of seated the same here. Just so all in all, it's coming together pretty good. Now I'm just gonna mark the other holes. I'm gonna drop some tape down through here, and that way when I mark them, they'll be marked on the tape, and then you just cut the tape. So this one's gonna be in the black, but I think that we're not gonna hit the edge here, so we're good there. Got a hole here in the center, hole here. This one's gonna be close to the racing stripe, but it is what it is. That's the way she goes. Looking pretty good. A little more arrow on here, get a little bit more little rear end appeal. Kind of running through, putting the tape on, and because I've got it tightened down pretty good, it's pretty tight through here, so I'm taking the tape and just doubling it over, that way it's smooth on each side, and then I'm just feeding it through underneath here because it's kind of tight. But if it's smooth, it'll glide. Obviously, if it's sticky, it's not going to. So I'm just doubling it over and then keeping the longer edge that'll stick once I get it up through. So once it goes through, then just push it down. But you can see that this is the slidey side. I don't know if you saw that or not, but this is the slidey side that went through. But all right, so I got it all taped up with the tape. And I decided just to punch the hole through with the tape on there. I did this one kind of in the middle. Didn't take much to drill through this time with the smaller bit. Over here, I was going through some pretty good compound right there at the corner, I guess. Just kind of built up where it's kind of, you know, coming to a convex or whatever. But in the middle, you don't need much drilling, so be careful. Don't punch it all the way through, because when I got through it went pretty quick. I didn't hit the other side, but it scared me a little bit, that's for sure. So I think instead of marking them, I'm just gonna drill them out. That's what Matt at Anvil suggested. I forgot that that's what he suggested, but he said mark them in the beginning, but then was like, maybe just drill them out. And that way you know the holes are there, dead on to where it's seated up right now. So that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna go back through and make sure my tape is seated pretty good, but I think I'll do that after I do the pilot holes, because really the bigger bits is what scares me about the paint, chewing up the paint on widening those holes out. So anyways, that's what we're doing right now. So I drilled all the holes now. They punched through real easy through the middle. These ones on the corners, they were a little tougher, so take your time. These ones in the middle are very light, so really once you break through, they just kind of go through, but you don't really hit the other side because you got some good depth, but just be careful. But I think the strategy is to get these ends on, like Matt at Anvil Auto suggested, with this Anvil Auto Wickerbill, and that way you just drill the hole straight through here. You know, I've got I think it's a 3/16 bit going through there. You could probably get a little bit bigger one, but I'm doing smaller. And then now I'm gonna take this whole Wickerbill off and then do my little strategy with the rest of the drill bits. Just taking my time, not in a real hurry. Seems to be working out, so if all goes well, Texaco Camaro is gonna have a nice little aero ad on the back here. And maybe do a little something in the front. Might be a sneak peek over there, but not gonna show that just yet. Just a quick update on the holes. So there's the holes. The holes are in. They look good, nice and clean. On this one, there's nothing wrong with the paint, but I noticed that because I was sliding the tape through, the tape wasn't on there as tight. So whenever I drilled in, some of the composite went behind the tape. And so the tape wasn't sticking very well whenever I was rubbing my finger over to tighten it down. So I just took all the tape off and I'm gonna put fresh tape on there. I think that's probably a good strategy, just to make sure you got a good contact patch as you drill those holes bigger. That way you're not blowing out your paint. Just an idea. It's real grabby as I'm getting the bigger bits. I'm getting the holes done out, but you know, there's not much, it kind of grabs on pretty quick. So just be careful if you go fast, because it launches forward. So just be careful. I know some people may be body experts and whatever else that are watching this, but I'm not. And if you're just kind of doing it yourself and don't do a lot of drilling into your body of your car, then just be careful. You don't want to punch through the other side. That would be a bad day. Expensive too, I'm sure. Got the big holes drilled. Now that's a process. You just gotta be careful not to punch through. Just slight pressure. Once you start to get kind of 3/4 of the way through the thickness there, just kind of pop the drill, slow down a little bit. I don't know if there's another technique, but I mean, if you just spin that thing super fast, trying to get it through there. I mean, you could pop the other side. I mean, you could probably touch the other side, but you wouldn't go all the way through, but who wants to do that anyways? Pretty scary. All right, well, pretty good situation on the hole punches, so pretty happy with all that. Just missed that stripe there, so that's great. So I'm inside the black. It's looking pretty good. I'm about to put the Wickerbill on. See what we got. Definitely a doable project for anybody. Give this old girl a little differentiated look. Maybe help me out a little bit on, who knows? Maybe it'll help me out, maybe it won't. It'll look cool though. There she is in all her glory. The Anvil Auto 1969 Camaro Wickerbill Smoked Edition. Maybe JJ at Ultimate Performance will give me one of those up yours stickers, put on the back. Maybe I'll run that, maybe not. Those look cool though. Pretty excited about the way it turned out. Put the bumper pads on here that come with it. It's pretty snug right there, so why not? In case there's any kind of turbulence. Scratch the paint. Bumper pads working out nice on those corners. I really like it. I like the smoked. Got options between clear and some other, but I think the smoked on the Texaco Camaro is looking pretty good. So definitely got some extra pickup, some extra downforce maybe. Probably rip the spoiler off, but I don't think it will. All new sheet metal. Should be pretty snug on there. I had the car in high school. We'll take a look at it. The spoiler's over here that was on it in high school. It might have been held on by like 2. Maybe that one and maybe another one up here. But yeah, that's the spoiler from high school. Kept it. That was the paint job. Pearl white, blue stripes. Anyways, maybe get a top view, see what we got going on here. Looking pretty tight. I'll take it. Not gonna show you the sneak peek on the Aero, because if you got back, you're gonna need front. That's the Anvil Auto 1969 Camaro Smoked Edition Wickerbill. Looking good.